Serious, what was something you saw you were definitely not supposed to see? Borrowed my dad's camera. Found out he was gay. I love the simplicity of this comment. I do not possess the necessary linguistic capabilities to properly elucidate the gravity of the experience. Hard drive failed on my dad's computer. The data recovery software did a pretty good job really, but I could have done without it recovering nude and lingerie shots of the various women he's been banging behind my mother's back over the years. The code to open all the doors in my primary school at the time. A lot of power to open any locked door for an 8-year-old. I did theater tech in middle school, so they gave me a key to the theater so I could work on stuff when the building was closed. Only, it turned out that the key they gave me was a master. It opened any door in any building on campus built in the last 15-ish years. I told the assistant headmaster pretty much as soon as I figured this out, and he was cool with it, since I was basically a responsible kid. But then, this one day, one of the faculty members locked himself out of his apartment, and I let him back in. His wife was not pleased. And that's the story of how I lost my ability to work on theater tech stuff whenever I wanted. I used to work in the basement of a pretty large hospital doing engineering work. They'll often cart dead bodies out of the hospital through the basement, so it's usually not a big deal. You just tend to try and ignore it. One time as I was finishing up a test in a pretty remote room, I walked out to an entire security detail escorting a body. I just got immediately shoved back into the room, so nothing really exciting happened, but I always wonder who that could been. I don't know if I wasn't supposed to see this, as I can't figure out any reasoning behind this beyond maybe exhibitionism. Though really I don't want to put exhibitionists in the same group as this couple because goodness gracious. I had a patient who was close to death and we called her daughter. She came and we set her up in the room to stay until her mother passed. She brought her boyfriend, which is not abnormal. I walked in to do my routine check and they were having sex on the cot that was set up for her maybe 15 feet from her dying mother. I mostly didn't want to see, so I'm answering this wrong. WTF, that's just wrong. Oh, I agree. I freaked a bit. They were both thrown out by my supervisor, though I wasn't sure what the appropriate response was. Her mother was dying, so I thought maybe just throwing out the "so alone" would be better, so the patient wouldn't be alone. I didn't know the relationship, but I'm still unsure of the appropriate response. I did stay with the patient till the end, and I hope she found her peace. WTF, that's just wrong. My third job I had, at 17, was at a pizza place. I had 2 managers, one male, one female. And they were both married to other people. Well, I went to hand in my drawer at the end of one shift, and walked into the office and there they were just making out with some heavy petting. Their spouses found out. They left their families, and then those 2 managers got married to each other. As far as I know, they're still together. Edit. I'm getting a lot of people sending me messages that are insulting me for having my third job by 17. Like wow, I didn't realize all you redditors were so accomplished by 17. But my first job was to tasseling, like many other kids in my small midwestern town. Then, I worked concessions at an outdoor pool. Once again, midwestern town, so this outdoor pool was only open during the summer. So, then by 17. I needed another job, and thus, I arrived at the door of a Pizza Hut. Also no, I didn't tell their families. I was 17. I didn't even know these people's spouses. Their families found out because they told them themselves. Because they both wanted divorces from their respective spouses. How do we have the same experience? Mine was at a pizza ranch. I guess pizza evokes hot passion. Back when I was a teenager, we hosted a New Zealander at our house for a couple weeks. Guy gets to our place after the flight, and about 10 minutes later I'm walking around my house to see where he's at. The door to his room is partially open, and the dude is laying face down on the bed and humping the ever-living fuck out of a pillow. I backed away slowly like Homer when he saw Apu cheating on his wife. I felt bad for the pillow. Edit. For all of you asking, no. It was not a wool pillow, and it didn't resemble a sheep. Won a used laptop from my female friend in a bed. She had a bunch of nudes on it. Edit. A lot of people are asking what the bed was. I drank a pot of béarnaise for it. She was pretty drunk while making the bed, but I came around next morning to collect cause I didn't drink that pot of béarnaise for nothing. If anybody wants to know how to drink a pot of béarnaise, you just pretend it's soup. Also stop me asking for the nudes. I deleted them as soon as I saw them. This was no accident. I agree. He's sending mad hints, bro. Happened when I was 7. I found the Tom and Jerry DVD I had lost in the back of a drawer. In celebration, I decided to watch it again. By the time my mother walked into the living room and saw me watching a threesome, I was already scarred for life. She took away the entire DVD collection. I found invitations to my big surprise 18th birthday just lying on the floor a few weeks before the event. I had to act surprised when the time came to walk through the door to the party, which I did. The only thing is, my twin brother also knew, which I didn't know at the time. And let's just say his acting skills are really bad. So we both found out in different ways about the surprise party, but neither of us knew that we found out about it. So when I walked through the door for the _ surprise, I could tell from his reaction that he knew. I like how you're so confident that you sold it, but could immediately tell that your brother was faking it. I bet he has a similar story about knowing you were faking lol twin powers. We'll never know which twin wrote this. Dude robbed a gas station. I was riding my bike in the back, saw him take off his mask and get in a car. We made eye contact. I turned my head and acted like I didn't see anything. When I was 11, I walked into my mum's bedroom and saw my mum and her husband doing a 69. I bet he has a similar story about knowing you were faking lol. We'll never know which twin wrote this twin powers. Years later when I was 24, she walked into my bedroom and saw my BF naked with a boner. I bet he has a similar story about knowing you were faking lol. We'll never know which twin wrote this twin powers. When I was a young teen, I was once leaving my house to go do something in the neighborhood. As soon as I got out of the door, I heard my parents at the garage. My mother seemed to be in her car, and my father was sitting down behind her car and pleading with her not to leave. My parents were divorcing, and I saw a few scenes that I wish I never had. Not really horrific, but seeing your parents in emotional pain can be rough. Seeing your parents in emotional pain can be rough. I was raised by my grandparents and was, for all intents and purposes, their 11th child. My uncle committed suicide when I was 12. It was the second child they'd lost, but the first death I was alive for. Hearing my grandmother break down and fall to her knees sobbing uncontrollably, and seeing my otherwise stoic and rather emotionless grandfather's shoulders move because of how much he fought to control his sobbing, is something that I haven't been able to scrub from my memory in 29 years. Those moments are as clear as any other memory I have. When we're young, we tend to think of our parents as a lot more than they really are. As a parent now, I've learned just how wrong I was and how good my grandparents were at reacting to their mistakes and the mistakes their children made. I owe so much of who I am to them. A while back, someone posted a video of a father singing to his baby in the NICU after an emergency C-section. The baby had been taken out early because the mom has died unexpectedly overnight. The baby died shortly after. After I watched that, I felt like I had intruded on someone's private moment with their child, and that I was not supposed to see that. I filter the links I click on a lot more carefully now. I hope that man has found a way to begin his healing. Edit. For those asking, yes, it's the man singing Blackbird. I do conventions and corporate events for a living. Was once called into a room to fix a power cable. It was a meeting of a worldwide well-known house paint manufacturer. It was a closed door meeting, and I had to be let in to do my job quickly. They didn't stop talking as I did my work. We pulled all the units from production and recalled all units on the shelves, but the ones still in transit cannot be recalled. They might be caught when they reach the sales floor if the retailers are still watching the recall. But it will have been weeks since we issued it. The guy who then responds to that states that they can prove they did their diligence in court with the recall, and any units sold to consumers will be the retailer's fault. I never did get to hear what the recall was for, but they seemed pretty tense over it, legally speaking. So I doubt it was quality control. I felt like I had witnessed the mafia talking about a murder. I found a suitcase full of builders under my mom's bed when I was 8. One time when I was around 9 years old, I woke up to take a leak in the middle of the night. I saw that the TV was still on in my parents' room through the tiny opening in their bedroom door. My bathroom's near my parents' room. I went to check up on them, and when I opened the door, my god, I can never erase what I saw. I saw my mom on the edge of the bed and my dad eating her out with all his might. I literally said, "Mama," and they didn't even hear me because they were so into it. So I just ran quickly back to my room. I remember the next morning, during breakfast, I asked my mom if there's any more juice left and she said, "There's no more. Your dad has the last cup of juice." And then my dad said, "You can drink the rest of it if you want." He offered his cup of juice to me. And I looked at the rim of the cup and already felt sick to my stomach. I'm 20 now, and I still can't believe I remember seeing that. TLDR. Saw my dad going to town on my mom in the middle of the night. The salaries of everyone working at the company I was working at. It was a smaller, startup digital ad agency with about 60 employees total. And someone from ours was making copies of a document that listed everyone's salary and left the original on the glass of the copier. I found it and turned it back in. But not before I went through that list to see what everyone else made. And discovered that a couple new hires working the same position as me were making more than me. After turning it in, I met with my manager and used my newfound knowledge to my advantage to successfully negotiate for a raise, along with a tacit promise that I wouldn't divulge what I knew to anyone else in the company. The owner of the club, where my sister worked, took an armload of shotguns out of his truck. It was about 3 AM, and I was parked behind the bar waiting for her. The reason I know he didn't mean anyone to see is because he covered them with a tarp, and he gave a good long stare around when he got out. Shady fucker, he was up to every kind of no good. I literally scrunched down in my seat. Please hit the like button and comment. Smash the subscribe button and bell icon to let this doggo wink more. Thanks for watching, and have a nice week.